Welcome back to the stupid show. We're going to talk about The Simpsons. Yeah!
That's the intro. You're going to love it. This is the intro. Let's talk about some Simpsons, dude.
Should we?
Yeah, we should. The Simpsons, as you know, is one of the longest running animated shows of all time. Yeah, it's the longest running animated show of all time. And let me tell you, there's a reason for it. Classic Simpsons is still funny to this day. In fact, it's both of us. It's one of our favourite shows ever. And we're gonna count down our top 5 episodes. Well, yeah, top 5 episodes. It's got to be a top 10 overall, though.
Yes. Now I think the thing with the list like this is we're both very similar in taste when it comes to Simpsons episodes. And so what people tend to do with these top 5, two top 5 lists is they don't tend to look at each other's lists just in case, there is some crossover or whatever. I don't know why people don't look at these lists, but we decided to because we knew that our top 5 lists were probably going to be pretty similar. And actually, we both presented our lists to each other and they were identical all bar one episode.
It was scarily similar.
Scary. So what we did was so whoever had an episode higher. So if we both had, let's say we both had, let's say we both had Bart the Fink on our list. If I had it at number 1 and Hysteria had it at number 2, then I would keep it on my list and Hysteria would change what was on their list. You see, so that was how we did it. We thought it's fair, right? It's fair.
And the thing is about this top 5 is that, Simpsons has a lot of amazing episodes, so your favourite's probably going to get missed out. That's just how it is.
We just before we started recording, we actually just went through the top, however many on IMDb just to check them all, and actually easily into the 50, 60 episode mark, we were still thinking they were all great episodes. So even if your episode isn't on this list, we probably, chances are we still probably like it.
Yeah.
So I guess we should talk about the rules for this list. There are no rules for this list.
What are the rules?
There are 0 rules.
Okay.
You know why? Because good television's good television, damn it. But it just so happens to be that no episode on this list is past season 8, I think.
Season 8 is the latest either of us have gone. I want to say that's out of coincidence because it's just our favourite episodes come before. Yeah. Season 9, that's it.
Are we no Homer clubbing this, where it's anything after season 6 is bad?
No, it's just starting with season 9. There's a huge drop in quality,
and it all starts with Homer versus the city of New York. Okay.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting because that one's quite an acclaimed episode, but you're not big on it.
I'm not big on it. Anyway, okay, who's going to go first? Should we? You decide.
I think I'll go first.
Okay, you go first. Do the screw attack. Do the screw attack.
Number 5. Number 5. So my number 5 choice is.
Okay.
Yeah. Just post the clip.
Hey, Mr. Prime Minister! Andy!
Aye, mate. What's a good word?
So I'm going with season 6's Bart versus Australia. Now, you know Simpsons, right? They love their travel episodes. They love their holiday episodes. But they actually didn't do so many in the classic series. Not as much as you'd think, anyway. If you want to take just the first 8 seasons, I think Bart vs. Australia is that the only one where they travel to a different country?
No, the first in season 2 there's an episode where or season 1 where Bart goes to France.
Yeah, he gets him and the exchange student, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is the first holiday episode, I want to say then. And
Sure.
It's still the best holiday episode that The Simpsons ever did. It's not that the ones after it are bad. The Japan one's really good, but like, I don't know, they just stopped being funny, and I don't know. Like the Australia one, I think maybe they were just trying to copy the thing that worked so well in this one. But in the Australia one, basically Bart gets in trouble with Australia because he phones one of the families over there, and it costs money to accept calls from long distance and all that, and he leaves the family hanging on that phone for like the entire day, and then the family's bill goes up really high, so they want to take Bart to court, and a bunch of things. So they're basically forced to go to Australia to settle this matter. And what you'll get is just 22 minutes of just The Simpsons poking fun at like everything Australian. And it's like, I don't know, like apparently at the time the people of Australia got like super offended. But I don't know, like maybe it's because it's not happening to us, but like I don't find anything in this episode like too offensive. I find it all like playful fun. But you'll get portrayals like fucking they're portrayed as a bunch of like drunks and shit, and like the people who work in the government there are all just like they don't dress for the occasion. They're just like normal guys. Obviously, you'll think of the Mr. Prime Minister, Andy.
What's the good word?
What's the good word? And he's just in the pool and he's chilling. I absolutely love this episode. I think it's one of the funniest episodes in the entire series. Everything they say about Australia in this fucking episode is so funny. I love the way the Australians are portrayed as just a bunch of like really angry like people that want to they want to kick Bart in the bum. That's the punishment they want to give him, innit?
Yeah.
And I just think that like there's so many good moments in this episode, and I'd probably say the reason it makes my top 5 is probably just because I think it's just really consistently funny. I think that's a reason you're going to see a lot of on my top 5s is that they're just consistently funny. But I love the Australians in this, and I think my favourite scene in this is obviously Marge at the bar, right? Yeah, she's like, I'll just have a cup of coffee. Beer it is. No, coffee. Beer, coffee, beer. C-O-B-E.
C-O-B-E.
I fucking love this episode to death, and I love. So basically, all that's happening. Where they take Bart to court and they want to boot him in the bum, but then Homer won't allow it because he's like, you shouldn't do that and all that, and they basically get chased out of the fucking country. And remember, they brought the frogs over, and it ruined like the ecosystem of Australia or some shit. But then they take a koala back, and that's just the gag it ends on. One of the funniest episodes in the entire show. I love Bart vs. Australia. What do you think of the episode?
No, I actually really do like Bart vs. Australia. It's got a lot of like small jokes in there as well. Like one of my favourite one in the whole episode is "Go tell your neighbour," and he runs and he's gone for like 6 hours.
And the water spins the opposite way.
Yes, they got the machine that like comes it the other way around. God bless America.
I think I don't know. Yeah, so like it's definitely. Would you agree it's the best holiday episode the show ever did?
Yeah, I think so, and I can understand maybe the feeling a little bit of bitterness towards it, because it does portray them as quite like loud drunks. But if you look at the show, like The Simpsons as a whole, it portrays like America like that. It portrays every like when they did that British holiday episode a few years later, which I don't think is that good, but I'm not like offended at it because it knows what to poke fun at, if that makes sense.
The fucking roundabout scene where they're just for ages. I think that's the only joke in the episode that makes me laugh.
So I can understand why you'd be disappointed at it, but then also you've got to remember that the guy who owned Fox at that time, Rupert Murdoch, is Australian.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, though. That Simpsons makes fun of everyone. Like, it makes fun of Americans more than any other country ever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So people just assume that, oh, Simpsons, you know, blah blah. When it does this, it does that, and it's like, you know, they poke fun at like the average middle class like white person in America, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's their shtick. And that's why
specifically that line from one of the episodes where Homer walks in, he's like, I'm an adult male, 34 to 40, and everyone listens to me.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like, you know, it's like, if you're making fun of everyone equally, then I don't see what the issue is. Because they portray the average Americans as fucking morons.
It's true.
Yeah, so like, you know, and not a lot of American shows will do that. So there you go.
Well, they also got a lot of criticism for doing that too, if you remember.
Yeah, Simpsons was a very controversial show back in the day.
It's true.
Could you imagine that? Simpsons being controversial?
It is now one of the safest shows around.
The thing is, even those like old episodes, like by today's standards, they're still like they're not extreme or anything. It's just like, oh, it's The Simpsons. You don't think much of it. I guess because times have changed in 30 years in terms of what you can show on TV and shit. But you know, Bart vs Australia, you can't go wrong with it. One of my favourite episodes, and it just makes the top 5. Anyway, what's your number 5?
Number 5 for me is Springfield, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Legalized Gambling. Now, this episode is so the idea is that Springfield is on the down and it's kind of a dump, and so they decide, in order to rejuvenate Springfield, that they would legalize gambling just to get some money flowing into the town. Then Mr. Burns takes upon himself to build a casino, and then Marge gets a gambling addiction, and that's the crux of the episode, is how gambling can tear your family apart or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why is it that episode you enjoy?
Well, I think it is. I don't always look for Simpsons episodes with a message, but you know, people forget that Simpsons is technically a satire. It's not just a sitcom. It does like to poke fun at the American system, the American family, and I do. There was, I guess, around the time maybe worrying of gambling getting out of hand and how it can destroy a family, but even if it didn't have that good message, I think every single joke in this episode hits. It's a really funny episode. Just from the way, the fact that Homer thinks Marge hated the idea of having the casino all the way through to the Mr. Burns like spiral into insanity is I think they're both really funny plot lines. Also, Bart's own casino got quite a lot of laugh out of me. Right near the beginning, Bart gets kicked out of the casino.
Oh yeah? What are you gonna do? Start your own casino? In your treehouse? And get all your little friends to come? I'd like to see that!
Oh yeah, welcome. Have a lucky day. Mm-hmm.
Well, he certainly showed me.
I think that's my favourite gag in the episode. I love I really like in animated comedies hard cut gags where it like just it cuts and then it's just like there's the joke. I think they're like the funniest shit.
But it's also there's also another really good joke that comes straight before that as well, where he goes, "Sir, are you 21?" And he goes, "Are you?"
There's a lot of good jokes in this episode. I'd agree though. I love the whole like she gets addicted plot line, and specifically Homer's like, "Oh, now you're still like sad about the fact that we wanted to build a casino," and she's just gambling. And it's like
the dream in his head where she's standing on top of the table with the rolling pin, and he's really muscular.
Oh, that's from this episode.
Yeah, it's from this episode. Yeah.
Ah, what a great episode. No, it is a really good episode. Like, just all 22 minutes of it is just hilarious. I can't get over how good this episode is. It's got so many good, like, I'd agree though, the story's really good, and, you know, even like at the beginning where they're talking about like what this is the you know, the whole wanted to build a casino thing. No, hold on, you know what? I forgot where I was going with this point.
It's okay, take your time.
I mixed up like 2 episodes here. Because I was like, oh, isn't this the one where they used the money to build it? And I'm like, wait a minute, no, that's the Monorail episode. No, okay. Why? I forget. Why was the casino built in the first place?
Just to get money into the town.
And it was Mr. Burns' idea.
Because at the beginning they're like, we should build a casino to get money into the, you know, money flowing into the economy, and Mr. Burns says yes, and I'll build it to something like to keep you guys in fear of me, and they all cheer for him.
Yeah. But it is a really great episode.
And then Barney stands up and burps, and they all cheer for him.
Are you sure this is the casino? I think I should call my manager.
Your manager says for you to shut up!
Vera said that? Oh.
Oh, God. I also love, you know, it's the joke where, like, they start... He's like, I should go. He's like, no, let me see. And then they both start screaming, and Homer starts hitting himself in the head. I request, please play that clip.
Okay, I'll play that clip.
You're gonna
also, don't forget...
Yeah?
Sorry?
I was going to say, you're going to be playing a lot of, like, clips this episode.
I hope we don't get a copyright strike on it. I also like the I built this plane. It can take us from New York to Europe in 17 minutes. I call it the Spruce Spruce. That's a very nice model, sir. Model.
And then, like, in the ending gag, it comes full circle. He's like, we'll take the Spruce Moose. And then he's like, I don't know. And he gets the gun on him and he goes, get in.
And the jars of urine?
Oh, we'll hang on to those.
Oh, God. I mean, is there anything you want to say about this before we move on?
Good message, good jokes. I guess also that meme did come as well with Homer bursting through the door, which I guess if you like that,
I'd 100% agree. It's a fantastic episode. It's another one of those ones where I'm like, is it as funny as I remember? And then every time I watch it, it's like hilarious. And there's a lot of Simpsons episodes like that for me. But yeah, no, I agree. I love this episode. I love how it ends, where it's just Homer having a go at her for having a gambling addiction.
I've just remembered. Baby on the table. That's good luck. Sorry, I just love this episode. Oh dear.
So, are we going to move on?
Yeah, sure. You're next.
So my number 4 is season 5's Cape Feare. You alright?
Oh, fantastic episode. Sorry, I just keep thinking back to the screw attack. Sorry. Sorry, I can't stop myself. Sorry, okay. What's going on?
I request you don't cut this out.
Okay.
Just leave the whole laughing thing. So, Cape Feare.
Sorry, I need to stay away from it.
Okay. They're having a moment, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry.
Folks, you have to understand, like, we come from a certain time where Screw Attack was relevant.
Screw Attack was... Okay. Alright, sorry. Okay, I'm over. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm just trying to work out how do you spell Cape Feare.
Cape Feare. Anyway. So, Sideshow Bob made his debut in the season 1. I think season 1 was
yes,
when he attempted to kill, not kill, he attempted to frame Krusty. He didn't become a murderer until fucking like season 3. Yeah, season 3. And he's never actually killed anyone, I think, but he's an attempted murderer. Anyway. Sideshow Bob's a recurring character, but not to the extent of the side cast where he's in every episode. They usually... around the classic series, he usually showed up once every other season. And, which is a good use of him. I think, you know, he didn't overstay his welcome. And this was Sideshow Bob's 3rd episode. And in my opinion, this is still Sideshow Bob's best episode, with season 6's Sideshow Bob Roberts being a close second.
Oh, Sideshow Bob Roberts is a really good episode.
Yeah, I love that episode.
I also love Brother from Another Series as well. I think that one's really good too.
That one's really good, but I also feel like you definitely need to appreciate Frasier to like it.
And I do. I like Frasier.
Yeah, we both like Frasier, so it's okay. But anyway, no, I love Sideshow Bob as a character, at least at this point. I started hating him after the Brother from Another Series one, because like it's literally after that the Sideshow Bob episodes started getting really bad. Because they ran what they could do with him into the ground, because by the end of the Brother episode, he's no longer he no longer wants revenge on Bart. So it makes no sense by the next one he wants it on Bart and Krusty again. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway. This being the middle of like those classic Sideshow Bob episodes, this is the pinnacle for me. This is the one where Sideshow Bob wants to kill Bart. And this is actually the first episode off the top of my head where he specifically wants to kill Bart. Because in season 3 he wanted to... He faked the marriage and whatever, but he didn't want to kill Bart. Specifically, this is when his whole thing with wanting to kill Bart came about. And Sideshow Bob is... This episode is another one that's really fun. Like, you can get any quote from this episode. So basically, the Simpsons are put on witness protection after they get scary like messages from Sideshow Bob. He's in prison, and he's coming out, and he's telling Bart that he wants to kill him. And... even before Sideshow Bob's out, there's so many good gags. I like the one, you know, where it's all the letters written in his blood. Remember, Bob was writing in his blood, right?
Oh, yes.
Dear life in these United States, a funny thing happened to me. Oh.
Use a pen, Sideshow Bob.
It's like, why is all these letters here? And it's like, and it's like, they're all written in blood. These are all the letters we're getting. Wait a minute, why is that one written in actual ink?
This one's done in different handwriting.
Oh, I wrote that one after Bart somehow put this tattoo on my foot.
And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I wrote this one when Bart got this tattoo on me. And he turns around, they all start laughing at him. There's something about the humor in this episode that's like really cartoony and snappy. There's a lot of slapstick in this episode, particularly for
the rake scene.
The rake scene, I don't care what people say, it's still super funny, even to this day. Like, where it starts off as just a gag where he gets hit once and he's like, yeah. But then, like, later on in the episode, he's walking between like 6 of them and he keeps hitting himself in the face. But I think the best one is it comes at the end when he's on the boat and there's just a rake on there. Oh god, I
also really like who wants to drive through the cactus field.
Yeah.
No. Whoop. 2 against 1.
I also like the fake Simpsons intro when they have their name changed.
Yeah, the Thompsons.
I absolutely, I don't know, I love this episode. It might be like, I don't know, obviously all these episodes are on there on my list because they're consistently funny. That's the big theme with them. But this one in particular is like way too good. And it's like, even when he's talking to the FBI people and they're talking about like, they're trying to convince him, they're trying to get it through to Homer, like, and he's like, when I say Mr. Thompson, you'll say hi. And then he goes, hello, Mr. Thompson. And Homer just does nothing. And then it's like hours later and he's like, when I step on your foot, and like say hello, Mr. Thompson. And then Homer's just still, and then the ending gag is, Homer goes, I think he's talking to you. I also really like the it's in that same scene where he's like oh god, what is it where they go, it's called like Feare, and then he says something about ice cream and then he's like, no, that's Screamsville or something, and then Homer goes, ah. And it's just like such a nothing, like he just screams and then he goes back to being normal like straight away. And this episode's funny, and I love, obviously you love the play he does at the end of the episode where he starts singing and shit.
Yes.
One of the best endings to a Simpsons episode ever. Like last act is like so amazing. And when the boat's going by and they get caught by the police and it's like, yeah, you're lucky this river floats by, like goes by this brothel. Take him away. Bake him away, toys.
What'd you say, Chief?
Yeah,
do what
the kid says. Oh god! I also love, like, just as we said, we talk about the rake scene and how much Bob gets hurt in this episode. I also love when he's he's like, oh, I'm just lying around, and then the parade comes through. And there's like 6 elephants like step on it. I can't, like, I hate that I'm just gushing and quoting the episode, but like its plot's extremely simple. There's nothing complicated about it besides the fact it's a murder thing, and it's just really funny throughout the entire thing. I love this episode to death. It's not only one of my favorite Simpsons episodes, but I think it's one of the best animated things I've ever seen, period. Big praise, I know. But
big praise.
But I also like, I was gonna say, there's another joke I really like with the brownies. I like, I was like, but I made you some brownies. Do you want some? And it's all scary. Do you remember when he bursts into Bart's room?
Yeah. Do you want to see my new chainsaw hockey mask?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Good night, son. He gives him like a kiss on the head.
I forgot that was this episode, actually. I thought it was the other one.
Oh no, Dad's being drugged. No, he's not. He's just sleeping. So what do you think of this episode?
I think it's really good. It's a laugh a minute.
Yeah, like a lot of these episodes are, to be fair. I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot. But, so yeah, you've got, like, nothing else you want to say about this episode before we move on?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I think it was just a silly, fun time. It's a good 25 minutes I'd watch again.
So, do you want to move on to your number 4? And I won't do the screw
Yeah,
tag.
Sure. Oh, don't forget, no one who speaks German could be an evil man. So, number 4 for me is Last Exit to Springfield, which is an episode in which the union leader for the power plant has gone missing, in quotes, and so Homer is elected to become the new union leader, because I guess he showed strength, and it's just really like a again, it's just one of those episodes where I guess it kind of does highlight the importance of, you know, maybe having a union in the workplace, wink wink, nudge nudge, and also it's just got a lot of funny jokes in there too. I like the whole like probably the most famous one from this episode is dental plan, Lisa needs braces, you know.
It's a classic.
It is a classic, and so
I mean,
so,
I think this was another one that made my list too.
True. So yeah. So tell me, why was it on your list? Why was it on your previous list? I guess.
I think it's like one of the, besides being really funny, I actually just think the story of this episode's really good, and I think it's one of the best The Simpsons ever did. And I think the whole, like, you know, them versus you know, Mr. Burns is like, we need a free, you know, we need dental and all that, and Homer's like buckling under the pressure for the whole thing. I mean, you know, you love the fucking, you know, goons, hired goons.
You know, you could have just called me.
Oh, yes, but the telephone is so impersonal. I prefer the hands-on touch you only get with hired goons.
Hired goons?
You could have just phoned.
Yeah, no, this is another one that's just like a laugh a minute. I think around this time was my favourite characterization of Homer, where, like, yeah, he's stupid, but they still portray him as, like, human. And I love seeing him in, like, this position where he's, like, everyone thinks he's great, and, like, it's a big misunderstanding. Everyone thinks he's, like, this great, like, leader and shit, including Mr. Burns. And, like, he's not. He's just shit, and he's, like, thinking of backing out and stuff. And the whole end gag is that, you know, he'll give him the dental and all that, but Homer has to step down as leader of the cause. And Homer's happy, and he starts doing, you know, like the dance on the floor. I don't know, I think it's just a really good story. Plus, I really like the song Lisa sings near the end of the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
then
it's a really
she should
nice
do
song.
classical gas.
Oh my god, that joke's been ruined for me.
Really? How come?
It's because of, like, the memes of it. It's like, now do classical gas. No, I think it's funny, don't get me wrong, but I can't watch it in context without thinking of, like, just that. It's like, now do classical gas. It's such, like, a nothing joke. It's not in a bad way. It's just, like, it's a joke that just, it comes and it goes nowhere. And then it's, like, the next scene. No, I do like that joke.
Also, it doesn't sound like they like you at all. Oh yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna punch Lenny in the back of the head.
That's another one where it's just like, it's just a cutaway gag, and then it cuts away from that. It just doesn't dwell on it. The Simpsons humour used to be so snappy and fast paced that even if there was an unfunny joke, you didn't care, because there was going to be like 10 more you found funny. I still like. It's episodes like this why I rate The Simpsons humor so highly. And there's a lot of people recently that are like, oh, you know, Simpsons will it's not funny, probably because they didn't grow up with it. And it's just like, if you watch those old Simpsons, it's inspired so much modern humor. Like, you don't understand how actually just revolutionary Simpsons humor was for the time for American television. And just, like, it's inspired so much. I think, like, watch Last Exit to Springfield, and if you're not impressed, I challenge you at home, if you're not impressed by Last Exit to Springfield, then, like I don't know what to say. You probably don't watch good comedies.
Oh,
that's mean. Obviously, humor's subjective, but like, I don't know how you couldn't watch these 22 minutes and just not be like, this is amazing, because it really is. Last Exit to Springfield, such a good episode of the show. One of my personal favorites. No, but there's a lot of good gags in there too. But I like, my favorite episodes usually revolve around Homer, which is weird because my 5 and 4 actually revolve more around Bart. But I think Homer's the funnier character to focus on, and I just think that, like, I just love him in this position where he hates the position he's been given, but like things keep going accidentally right for him. I think it's amazing.
He also thinks that Mr. Burns is coming on to him as well.
He's coming on to me. Mr. Burns, I'm flattered. Maybe even a little bit curious.
With these backdoor shenanigans.
It speaks highly of Mr. Burns as a character. This is the second episode on your list where Mr. Burns is featured prominently in a storyline.
Oh yeah. Oh, I also forgot to mention about Springfield. Was also that the casino, it comes up again in the series, and they're doing the they're knocking it down, and he goes, "Oh, I can't wait for the implosion." So I just thought I'd mention that as it was on my mind. Yeah. No, I mean, I actually do like Mr. Burns as a character. A lot of people, I guess, have kind of grown tired of him maybe a little bit because he's very stereotypically evil. But in these earlier seasons, he really works with it. And I think it is quite funny. He's not also. He does have more depth to him as well than a lot of people give him credit for, and he's just funny, I guess.
He is one of the funniest characters
to watch.
He is one of the funniest characters in the show. Dare I say, he barely even feels like side character. Like,
yeah, he's one of the main side characters. If you want.
He has the most screen time of all the side characters because they did a character by screen time thing. And Mr. Burns is the highest that isn't a Simpson. And I've always felt...
He pretty much is, like, the villain in most episodes, too, so...
Yeah, and in those very early seasons, like Season 1, 2, and 3, isn't he in, like, loads of episodes?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, because even when they weren't expanding the side cast, Mr. Burns was already a big character by Season 1 anyway.
Well, I think because they were focusing a lot on the Homer as the everyday working man before they kind of stopped doing that. So I guess as he was always at the power plant, he was always with Mr. Burns. You know, that kind of a thing.
And not to spoil anything, but you've got 2 more episodes on your list upcoming that have Mr. Burns in it.
Yeah, I'm aware. What can I say? I haven't chosen those episodes specifically because of him, though.
Yeah, no, it is a weird coincidence, though, isn't it? He is, like, one of the funniest characters. He might be the best side character in the series. Like,
I agree.
Off the top of my head. My favourites are, like... To go on a bit of a tangent here, I'd say my favourites are... I like Mr. Burns a lot. I think Apu's really good as well. I really like Nelson. I think he's really funny. Moe's good. Moe's good as well. Probably not Krusty though. I'm not a big Krusty guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never rated, like, I think his episodes are good, you know, ones that aren't going to make our top 5, like Homie the Clown and all that. Fantastic episode. But if you want to talk about shticks, I think got tiring. Mr. Burns for me never did, but I always thought Krusty the Clown's did, because his whole thing is just that he's a corrupt celebrity. That's kind of all he has going for him. I'm sorry I'm ripping into fucking Krusty the Clown, but...
Yeah, you are a little bit, yeah.
Nah, not to say that he isn't funny. He has, like, a lot of good gags. I'm just saying he's, like, not... I prefer him in the earlier seasons than I do the late... Like, the very early ones, like season 1 through 4, where they actually portrayed him as, you know, he's a bit of a dick, but he has a good heart to him. Why did they change that? Like, even in the classic series, they just changed that he's a flat out just, like, bad person.
I don't know, honestly. I guess. Well, yeah, you have to forget those. You might forget, but those first few seasons, I want to say even like in season 4, there were small running storylines, even though they didn't like affect anything. You know, like the Chief Wiggum versus Mayor Quimby thing. You know, there was stuff like that going on in the background, which might not have got a lot of focus, but it was there.
That's another one that got dropped after season 4.
Mm-hmm. So it's stuff like that, and I guess it was just one of those things where we're just like, it's just as this we're more of an episodic show than anything. So why don't we just stop trying to make it all make sense?
Yeah, I'd also say Chief Wiggum's another one of my favourites, but I just find him like ridiculously funny.
Same.
But
yeah.
On that though, Mayor Quimby, I'm not big on.
Really? Why not? He's funny.
Mayor Quimby is funny, but he is literally just the same joke every time.
Sure, I guess.
It's just like a JFK. Well, no, it's specifically meant to be JFK's brother they're impersonating.
Yes,
which,
it is, yeah.
I don't know, it does sound no fucking different to me. I always thought it was JFK. I had to read up that it was JFK's brother they were doing.
I see, I guess.
Yeah, but no, he's funny, but like, maybe it's the characters with like zero redeeming qualities that I find less likable. Because like, as I said, Krusty used to be a character where, even though he was always a bit of a corrupt celebrity and all that, but like you watch the episode with his dad, or you watch the episode where he gets framed, or you watch the episode where, you know, Camp Krusty, even though he does a lot of bad things, he feels bad for a lot of the bad things he did, and they portray that. At Camp Krusty, he didn't know the things that were going on at Camp Krusty, and when he found out about it, he was really sad at the end. I think that's the best portrayal. I think that's the best portrayal of Krusty, not the one where, you know, it's like Bart's like, if you want to hit me, Krusty, you can, and then it cuts to like it cuts to Krusty with his fist out, like about to like prep and to punch Bart in the face. Even though I complain about the characters, I'm not saying they're like completely unfunny. I don't think there's any Simpsons character I think is actually just completely not funny. Could you think of one? Like just like a bad Simpsons character?
No, I don't.
That psychiatrist, right, that they wrote out.
The psychiatrist, yeah, I guess, but he's only in like 2 episodes.
Yeah, they hated him. Apparently, the writers.
Well, they wrote him.
Yeah, they just like killed him off screen, like just randomly. And then
that's in the 138 episode spectacular, wasn't it? They announced that he had died,
which is the only good clip show in the entire show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because that one's an interesting one because they're showing you a bunch of shit you've never seen. It's not just like a regular clip show.
Yeah, it's more of a behind the scenes more than anything.
Do you remember for the Who Shot Mr. Burns? They animated a bunch of different characters shooting him.
Yes, it was good. You did stuff like that you wouldn't have known unless they just outright told you.
Yeah, and they did a bunch of different audio takes as well for like if Smithers was the actual killer and shit. Which,
Maggie killed.
Yeah, Maggie was killer. I didn't even say killer. I meant the one that shot him. Because the Smithers one, I guess they just didn't do it because it was predictable. Because like sure. I imagine if it was just like Waylon Smithers, WS, that's what it stands for, and that was it. It's like, okay, cool. But it's cool because they kept the voice actors in the dark about it.
Ooh,
about which one they're
quite
play.
a few shows have done that. To be fair, where they film multiple takes and then no one knows which one it's going to be until the day.
Yeah, that's cool. I like shit like that because like it really sells the whole like thing that like the information like that won't get leaked and shit. Fucking imagine if like Who Shot Mr. Burns came out today. Like I think people would have caught on there was Maggie like way sooner. Because, like, the rise of the internet and shit. Somebody would have had, like, an inside source there and would have leaked it.
Oh, well.
Anyway, enough on that tangent about side characters and shit. Let's move on.
Yeah, you tell me. What's next?
So my number 3 is season 8, You Only Move Twice.
Ooh.
This is the latest episode I have on the show.
Season 8.
And I'd say season 8 is the last season that actually that ever had masterpiece episodes. Now, season 9 has good episodes, but the last 2 masterpiece episodes come from season 8, and that's You Can Only Move Twice and Homer's Enemy.
Yes.
I personally prefer You Only Move Twice. You know, so that's the one where they move to another town for a new job. And, you know, they meet Hank Scorpio, who is the best one-off character The Simpsons has ever had, in my opinion. And, but based on the premise, you wouldn't think this one would be really funny, because it's a very basic premise of them moving away, but, like, this is extremely funny because obviously Hank Scorpio, he's not a normal person, is he? He's a crazy mastermind. He's a villain. And Homer never. It's a good like running joke throughout the entire thing. And Homer never catches on to it throughout the entire thing. And I think it's good because they bring the joke forward, but they never address it. They never go,
no, exactly.
Wait a minute, you're a fucking villain? What? I've been working for you. As
like modern Simpsons.
Modern Simpsons. Marge, he's a villain, what do I do?
That's not the only place Homer.
Yeah, he plays Homer.
Did you clone yourself? Maybe I did.
Maybe I did. You're breaking federal law. Maybe in the eyes of the government, but in the eyes of God, I am among him. Anyway, You Only Move Twice. It's just a really good episode because of Hank Scorpio. He like makes this episode really good. So obviously they move out and Homer's loving it. But as you see as the rest of the thing, Marge, Lisa and Bart, they all hate it because Bart's being treated like an idiot, like he's put in like the proper special class because like he's not like smart enough to like be with the others. So he hates it because like you can't even mess around in the special class because like they just don't get it. Lisa has the allergies to nature, so which means that like she can't enjoy her time there. And Marge, because the house is getting like everything done, it's getting clean and shit for her, she has nothing to do and then she starts drinking. But the punchline of that is she actually wasn't drinking that much. What was it, only like 1 glass?
Yeah, she had 1 glass, yeah.
But they were building that joke. They were building it, you know, when she first drinks it, they play the dramatic music, like, duh, like they were proper building it as, like, she's getting addicted to alcohol. And then she just brings it up late, and she's like, yeah, I just had, like, I had a glass of wine. I absolutely love this episode. But all the funny stuff, you know, this side stuff's good, but all the core humour is with Hank Scorpio and Homer. They play off each other so well because Hank Scorpio is just like this, like, kind of like kisses his employees' ass, kind of like wants to keep him around. Like he really likes Homer for whatever reason, and he just wants him there. And like he's like, you know, our work is fun and all that. And obviously you have the joke where he's like, he's just speaking to Homer fast, and he's like, Homer, like, you know, here's the thing, can you hang up my jacket? And then he looks around and there's no coat hangers. And he's like, I'm just messing with you, Homer, there's no coat hangers. In fact, I didn't even hand you my jacket. And he looks back and he's wearing it backwards.
Wow.
Hank Scorpio, he's just got so many funny jokes in this. I also loved the one where he's like, yo, can I get some sugar for this? And then he just he reaches into his pocket and he goes, oh yeah, sure. And he just hands over a bunch of sugar from his pocket.
Want some cream?
No.
It's such an odd joke. Like, Scorpio's such a... Is it a shame? It's a travesty. They never did anything with this character.
I agree.
And apparently the word is they were meant to... He was meant to be the main antagonist of the Simpsons movie.
Yes.
That's why his voice actor stuck around, because it's the same guy who voices Hank Scorpio voices the main villain of the Simpsons movie. But apparently it was penciled in for Hank Scorpio to be the main villain. And I'm not saying that like it would have been better, because me and you both aren't big on the Simpsons movie anyway. But like, it would have been great to see Hank Scorpio again, wouldn't it? Yeah. It's like, he only has that one episode. Yeah, it's Albert Brooks who voices him.
Yes,
and he's done. Albert Brooks is he's a recurring voice actor on the show. He's done a few other guest roles besides that. He also did, in Bart's Inner Child, he played the spokesperson in that.
Oh yes, he did. I forgot about that. Yes.
And I think that one's meant to look like Albert Brooks as well.
Right. He didn't really do... He was only more of a reoccur... He wasn't that reoccurring, was he?
Who?
Albert Brooks.
What, that character?
No, as in just like Albert Brooks as a whole. He didn't really appear that much in The Simpsons, did he?
He's been in like 8 episodes.
Yeah. He's really good at voice acting though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm positive that's like just his like normal voice.
Sure, but he carries it so well. No, but that's the thing though. A lot of actors, because he is an actor, he's not a voice actor, he's an actual actor. When a lot of actors make the jump to voice acting, they tend to lose their momentum, if that makes sense. But he doesn't. He plays it like a regular person,
I'd agree.
Oh well. No, I absolutely adore this episode, and this was on my list too. But it's just such a weird. I know we have criticised some episodes for feeling like post season 10. This does feel like a post season 10, but a good post season 10 episode, if that makes sense. Like the concept's a bit weird, but it's funny, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely leaning into... It's not something the earlier seasons couldn't have done, I think, but it's the whole supervillain thing is a bit extreme, but that's all like really funny stuff.
It's also all background stuff too as well. It's not the main focus of the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just gags for like, oh Homer, I'm on a call, can I give you a second?
Yeah, and he's talking to like the president and shit, right? And he's talking about how he's gonna blow him up, and then like Homer's just ignoring it.
Oh my god, the 59th Street Bridge.
Maybe it just collapsed on its own.
We can't take that chance.
You always say that. I want to take a chance.
Do you like so would you say the sugar gag's your favourite gag in the episode, or do you prefer the coat gag?
No, I really like the one where at the very end where he's going, I need to go home. And then he's like, okay, that's great, Homer, but if you could kill some guys on the way out, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, because he tells him he's leaving in the middle of like a big like shootout,
Yeah. He just kicks a grenade on his way out and it kills someone.
I also like, the James Bond gag where like the guy gets out of the restraints, it's the whole laser thing, and then Homer tackles him. And he's like, thanks, Homer, you're a lifesaver and all that. And then, like, when they walk away, it just cuts to the guards shooting. I love like just fast humor like that, and The Simpsons is filled with that stuff. So yeah, that's my number 3. I'm probably not going to talk much more on it. You only moved twice. One of season 8's 2 big masterpiece episodes. Probably the last of those amazing Simpsons episodes. At the very least, this was near the beginning of season 8, and Homer's Enemy is near the end of season 8. So at least season 8 was bookended by 2 like really fantastic episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
it's hard to actually pick on like any episodes past this that I would just say are like our masterpieces. They maybe I'm gonna have a quick look in season 9.
The highest rated episode of season 9 is the city of New York versus Homer Simpson. I love that episode.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you're not. I know you're not big on it, but I think the City of New York. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, I can't think of one from season 9 that I would. Maybe The Joy of Sect, I'd say, is a pretty good.
Oh, The Joy of Sect's really good, and the one where Homer joins the Navy.
Yes,
they're both
that's
amazing.
Season 10, I think.
Yeah, that's season 9. That's season 9. I absolutely love that episode, and The Joy of Sect. I think they're both fantastic.
Okay,
but you can definitely tell they're not like classic in terms of their humor style. Like Homer's a proper moron in those episodes.
Can I offer? I know this is jumping the gun a bit, but season 11, Homer to the Max. I love that episode.
Yeah, no, it's a great episode, but I definitely wouldn't say it's as good as
no
any of the episodes we've taught so far. Homer to the Max is a really good one. Also, Behind the Laughter is really good too.
I agree. Yes.
We both agree that Behind the Laughter, if that was the last episode of the show, Simpsons Legacy would be a lot better.
Yeah, for me, that is pretty much the definitive end to the show.
They also waited too long to do a movie. 2007 was way past Simpsons' peak in terms of relevancy.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I know you haven't seen much of South Park, but they cashed in on that movie thing at the right time, past season 3, when South Park was probably at its hottest, 1999, 2000. So I don't get why Simpsons didn't do that, because apparently there was plans to do a movie as far back as season 4. Apparently Camp Krusty was originally penned in to be the original concept for a movie. I don't know how you would have translated that into a 90-minute episode, but imagine Simpsons in its prime with the good writers doing a movie. That would have been fantastic. I don't know, maybe it would have taken away from the season though, because usually when you do a movie alongside a season, doesn't the show usually suffer in quality?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, unless they get a different studio to do the animation.
I would have loved to seen a Simpsons movie, a proper hand drawn one though.
Same.
See, because it's weird, because you see all those other adult animated shows like South Park and Beavis and Butthead got a really good movie too, and Futurama got 4 films. Obviously, they
don't really count though.
Yeah, sure. The Futurama ones just feel like extended episodes, whereas Beavis and Butthead and South Park was more designed as films.
Yeah, that's not saying that they're not good, but they're not proper films. They weren't in cinema; they were on TV.
Yeah, true. I just feel like it's weird. Hey, you know which one did go to cinema?
What?
The fucking Aqua Teen Hunger Force one went to cinema.
Oh, come on. That film's great, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so... Again, wasn't Aqua Teen Hunger Force one that actually... Didn't that one kind of jump a bit late on the bandwagon to do the movie, though?
Let me see. What year did it come out? I forget. 2007. Yeah, I guess because...
7 years after its debut.
Yeah, Aqua Teen's peak is season... It's depending on who you ask. Aqua Teen's peak is either season 2 or 3, and I guess 2007 is a bit late for that. Oh,
But I'd still say it's better than what The Simpsons did.
but in its defense, no episodes came out in 2007, so I guess there is that.
I mean, I'm just sad that, like, out of all my favourite adult animated shows, Simpsons is the one with, like, the weakest film. That makes me so sad. Because, like, in its day, Simpsons could have had an amazing film.
Sure.
But, like, I guess they... You know what? You got, like... You still got, like, more than 200 fantastic episodes, and what comedy can say that? They can't.
They can't,
Like,
yeah.
Simpsons is, like... It was consistently the funniest comedy ever for so long, and it's like... I guess we can't be mad about what could have been, but the Simpsons movie we got is, like, so disappointing. And I remember feeling, even back in the day, like, my friend was like, yeah, the Simpsons movie wasn't that good, and I was like, yeah. And we were like kids, we were like the proper demographic for it. I would have only been like 11, and even I was feeling that, so I don't know, like, yeah, probably shouldn't talk about the Simpsons movie anymore.
Anyway, who's next? I forget.
You're next. It's your number 3.
My number 3 is A Fish Called Selma.
Fantastic episode.
I agree. So A Fish Called Selma is an episode where Troy McClure, who is, of course, the resident, whenever they need some, like, movie star stand-in, they'll use Troy McClure instead. He's down on his luck. He hasn't had any films recently. So he goes to he meets Selma, and they start dating, and then suddenly he's getting all these offers in, and it's just kind of like that. And there's a weird running joke where they just make fun of him having sex with fish.
Hey, I thought you said Troy McClure was dead.
No, what I said was he sleeps with the fishes. You see...
Tony, please, no. I just ate a whole plate of dingamagoo.
One of the oddest jokes in Simpsons history.
It really is. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's all the crux of the... Well, I mean, yeah, that's all the crux of the episode is. But, so why do you like the episode?
I like the episode because it's actually, it's kind of a... It's one of those ones where it's a bit of a bait and switch, where you think, oh, it's just going to be, like a... Almost like what's the one where Principal Skinner falls in love with Selma? It feels like it's going to be one of those, and then it just subverts it halfway through, where it's kind of hinted at that it is kind of like a sham marriage, and then they just roll with it for a bit. It's like, yeah, it's a sham marriage, but at least we know it's a sham marriage.
Is this a sham marriage?
Sure, baby. Is that a problema?
It's it comes when she's like, is our marriage a sham? And he's like, yeah, sure thing, baby. Is there anything wrong with that?
Is that a problem?
Is that a problem? And then they just accept that. Here's the thing, Phil Hartman, I think, is the best guest voice actor Simpsons ever had.
Yes, I agree. It's a shame neither of us have obviously, I guess it's not spoil, but neither of us have a Lionel Hutz episode on here.
No episode really focuses on him, though. This is like Troy McClure's only episode, and I think this is the only episode where... This isn't the last episode on our list where Phil Hartman's a big star in it, but this is the only episode where one of Phil Hartman's 2 major characters between Lionel Hutz and Troy McClure. This is the only episode that focuses on Troy McClure, because Lionel Hutz doesn't have an episode about him at all. I guess maybe the Bob Roberts episode, is he in that one a lot?
No. Yeah, he is.
What other core episodes are there?
I don't think he gets... He has quite a few B plots, but never any A plots.
Yeah, there's a really good one where he's babysitting.
Yes, that episode nearly made my list as well. But I didn't. It didn't.
No, it's a shame because Lionel Hutz is one of my favorite characters in the series. I even like him more than Troy McClure. But Troy McClure's fantastic too. The thing with Troy McClure is, again, you could argue the humor's very samey with him, whereas like, hi, it's me, Troy McClure. But this is the only episode you see him besides just his persona he plays for TV.
Yes.
And I love his character in this. Though I never would have guessed he'd be down on his luck, like he was a has-been, because I didn't think the episodes before this portrayed him as that. That he was like a has-been.
Oh, come on. He was doing educational films for schools and those daytime TV shopping channel things, you know.
I guess because nobody really weighed their opinion on him. That's why I didn't think he was a has-been.
Sure.
But I guess if he used to be, were they implying that he used to be like an A-list celebrity?
Yes, yeah, they were.
And then, okay, if that's what they're implying, then I can understand why, like, or how it actually did build up to this. But I guess it's because like this is the only episode where like they like Homer's like, oh, he's a has-been. He's not as good as he once was. And they're like, he was super hot in the 70s. Or whatever. Or was it the 60s?
I think it was the 70s,
I don't know.
yeah.
The 70s, he was like super hot, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But I love this episode. There's so many good jokes in this. Obviously, the one where they talk about how he wants to fuck a fish. One odd joke, because like, there's no joke like that in the show up until this point that references like bestiality at all. And then this one is just like, yeah, he wants to fuck a fish. But the way they say it, they never flat out just say he wants to like fuck it. They always allude to it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the Fat Tony one.
Hey, I thought you said he was dead. You said he was sleeping with the fishes. No, what I said.
What I meant was, he's like, Tony, no, I'm eating my lunch.
I also like ever hear of Planet of the Apes, the movie on the planet.
The fucking Dr. Zaius thing is one of the best.
Oh, I know everyone points to it, but it's so funny.
You know, when he plays with talking and like, do you agree with this? Should they have done a real life Dr. Zaius, like Planet of the Apes musical?
I think the Simpsons writers should have, just because of like the potential it held, but I don't know. But thinking about it, I don't know if they could carry it. Yeah,
for like a full, like however long a play usually is. Was it like 2 hours?
Yeah, exactly.
2 hours without breaks. Usually with breaks it comes to about like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, I'd agree. I don't know what they could have done there, but the Dr. Zaius play is really good. Obviously, yeah, we were talking about this last night, but my favorite joke in the episode, it's just a small joke. It's just where Troy McClure's laughing with Selma, and he's like, I don't think I've ever heard a funnier joke. Okay, now you tell me.
But that's also immediately before it is Troy's out the gutter and look what he dragged with him. That one makes me laugh as well.
Troy McClure, I think it just goes to show just how much of a talent Phil Hartman really is, though, because like he makes these characters so likable, and apparently like everyone backstage loved Phil Hartman, and like he'd entertained like the writers and shit just by him doing like his voice for them, and it's like, I've only heard good things about the guy, and it's a shame is it a coincidence he also passed away when the show was going downhill? So probably, obviously, it's the biggest coincidence. But losing Phil Hartman's voice was like one of the worst things that happened to the show, in my opinion. Obviously, they couldn't help that, though.
No, it's a shame that what happened to him as well. He didn't deserve the ending he got.
And Lunch Lady Doris, too. Remember, she died around that time too. So they lost Lunch Lady Doris.
Lunch Lady Doris died too. I forgot about that.
She was another like really funny character that like, so like they were losing a lot of good side characters around that time too. And obviously they didn't play too many, but Phil Hartman's was like the saddest one. And like you know, I agree, he definitely didn't deserve to go out like he did. He was, you know, he wasn't. He was like, he had so many good years to give to that show, and I don't know. Obviously, if he would have still remained funny, because he can only do what is written for him, and if he's not got a good jokes written for him,
true.
That's just how it is. But like, maybe I have faith that like Phil Hartman would have at least carried it with his performance. Because, yeah, a lot of it is what he says, but Phil Hartman's also just a really funny voice actor. So, you know, I think that Simpsons would have been... I'm not saying it would have been better, but like, because that's just bad, but I definitely would have tolerated a lot of the
yeah,
stuff.
I don't think you could attribute the downfall of Simpsons to one person entirely.
No, of course not. Also, it's like Troy McClure's last appearance in the show's really weird. It's just another one of his, you know, regular TV ones. Do you remember when Bart is looking after the bird? Egg.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah,
that's Troy McClure's last appearance in the show.
Aww. I guess technically speaking, Lionel Hutz's last appearance is the Simpsons movie.
Oh yeah, because he shows up but he doesn't speak. You know, it's interesting because Troy McClure was so ingrained into my head as a kid. I had no idea he even left the show at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, maybe it also goes to attribute, though, that I didn't watch a lot of Simpsons post, like, season... I want to say 14's the last season I watched as a kid. Even though he'd been dead since season 10 or 11. I don't know which one it was. Season 10, I want to say, he'd been dead since. And, but for some reason, I reworked into my mind, like, retroactively that, like, he was just in the show. Even though he wasn't.
Yeah.
I guess you don't know what episodes come in order though when you're a kid.
No.
But also,
not that it really matters that much, to be honest. It's an episodic show.
No, of course not. Yeah. I was actually shocked at how late I watched up to. Like, when I was looking at the list on IMDb as a kid, I've watched like every episode up until like season 14. And I think you have too. Because we were watching Simpsons around the same time.
Yes.
Do you remember when Simpsons was... Because in England, we had the whole thing where it went off... Was it BBC?
Yeah.
It left. Do you remember when it first came to Channel 4 and it was like a big deal?
Yeah, they made a huge deal out of it. And then, I mean, obviously, looking back on it, I guess it was probably for the better, but they were only showing old episodes. Yeah,
and they were doing... They did the regular episodes on the weekdays, and on Friday you got your double bill of The Simpsons.
Ooh!
We used to make a night of it at our house.
Because Hollyoaks is poopy.
It still plays to this day. I think that's still the playing order, isn't it, to this day?
Simpsons at 6, Hollyoaks at 6:30.
Oh my god, they haven't changed their broadcasting thing in like fucking...
No, the only thing they're doing
How long's Simpsons been on Channel 4? Like since 2000? 2002, 2003? No, it was earlier than 2007.
Maybe 2004 then, maybe.
Maybe 2004. That's like 16 years.
Because I think I'd moved into my new house when it had changed.
Well, the thing about us, though, is that, like... Do you remember that period where Simpsons just wasn't playing on TV?
Yeah, I do. Well, no, actually, I actually don't, because I guess as a kid I just wasn't paying attention to it. I was going to say, I got more into The Simpsons once it came to Channel 4, just because it was more accessible, I guess. It was every day at the same time.
I think I did too, but I just remember it being on TV, and I remember just talking to my older sister, and I was like, when's Simpsons going to play again? And she was like, Simpsons is never going to play on TV again. And I got really sad. And I only had like those VHSs, like basically as kind of like a memory of what Simpsons was. As a kid, I thought I'd never see Simpsons again.
And then it came back.
Yeah, it came back and it was like a super big deal. It was crazy. Man, Simpsons, it meant a lot to me as a kid. Not so much anymore. God, sometimes I hate just growing up and becoming like cynical about like what good TV is. Because like I accepted a lot of the bad Simpsons episodes as a kid.
It's true.
But anyway, I'm going to move on to my number 2 now.
Go for it.
We're nearing the end of the list. Number 2.
What is number 2?
Homer the Heretic.
Ooh.
Now, both my top 2 are 2 episodes from season 4.
Ooh, elitist.
I think season 4 has 3 or 4 or even 5 of the best episodes in the entire series come from season 4. And like just off the top of your head, what episodes are from season 4? Mr. Plow, Homer's Triple Bypass, Camp Krusty. I'm not going to say that's up there in terms of quality as good as them, but season 4 has such a resume. And I'm not going to say what my number 1 is because that's a spoiler, but Homer the Heretic is such a fantastic episode. And the reason I like Homer the Heretic, and even though I've said all the episodes so far, I said it's consistently funny, and Homer the Heretic is another one that is consistently funny. But Homer the Heretic is the only episode I have on this list because I absolutely love its message. And usually, Simpsons episode messages are great, but they're not the reason I like them. But Homer the Heretic's message sticks with me so much. Because as somebody who is a religious man who believes in God, I understand why you'd get turned off by the concept of like this episode. The concept is maybe we should let ourselves find faith, because if you kind of push your ideals down somebody, you're more likely to turn them off. What turns people off faith? Like, I can understand people getting turned off faith by having to go to church every morning at Sunday, right? A lot of people who've turned off faith have said stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't like it because I had to go every Sunday and it meant nothing to me every morning. I think the best way to teach somebody about like religion and stuff like that is to kind of let them find it themselves and kind of doing it in a more loving way. And this episode is a good criticism of both people who are against and people who are for. It kind of goes both ways. And I think that the way it tackles it, where Homer finds his own faith and he wants to live his own life, and everyone's telling him like, you know, we're going to go to heaven and all that, but you're not going to come with us. But Homer doesn't care because by his logic, well, his faith, he just kind of believes that you should be happy with all that. And like, it's something a lot of big religious organizations could learn, is that, yeah, kind of live and let live. If people aren't following your faith, what is it to you? Should that affect you? Should it bother you? And I'm sure that's something you agree with as well. So it's just kind of like, I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent on what the message of this thing is, but the message, I think, is what brings it to another level for me. On top of the fact that it's an extremely funny episode, Homer in this episode is on form. I think this might be my favorite 22-minute episode starring like Homer as the lead, which it is, because my number 1 is not about him primarily. And it's great. It's you know, he's going around talking about like just how like his faith is the best one and all that. And there's obviously the scene where he's dancing, and you know, he's dancing to himself in his underwear and shit. And I'm not, you know, here's his whole thing on like why he left the church to begin with. You know, I'm not a bad guy. I work hard and I love my kids. So why should I spend half my Sunday hearing about how I'm going to hell?
I was going to say, I've actually heard people in real life say stuff like that, and you know, as a big turn off to like, well, why should I bother going to church? And I'm just going to be told off for stuff I didn't do.
It's a valid reason, to be fair. And I'm telling you, as somebody, and you know, me and you know our stances on faith. I personally am religious, so like I even though I'm religious, I don't care that people aren't, and I don't understand why people care about that kind of thing. Like, why would you be bothered that somebody isn't religious? That literally doesn't affect you. And
yeah,
you know,
true.
The characters in this are getting so bothered that Homer doesn't believe in Christianity anymore.
Well, I'd also like to argue that Hurricane Neddy, the beginning of it, is another kind of extension of this, where you know, Ned Flanders is, you know, perfect Christian, lives his life perfectly, and yet the bad things still happen to him. In fact, the bad thing only happened to him. It's one of those things where it's like, it just because you do what could be considered all the right things, bad stuff still happens to you.
Yeah. No, I 100% like, it's a good message. I think that the episode's message is really good, and even with some of our, you know, some of our Christian friends who have watched this episode. Our old uni friend, he loved this episode too. Home of the Heretic, he thought it was great. I think even people who are religious and are more uptight about that thing, I think even they can watch this and go, yeah, I get what the episode's getting at. Obviously, I don't want to get corrected on that because I probably wouldn't want to meet somebody who was super uptight and was like, "Oh yes, like this episode's message is stupid." It's like, yeah, but it doesn't affect you. So what are you crying about?
Look, if you look at the message of this episode and you have a problem with that, I think that says more about you and how you view your life rather than an problem with the episode itself.
Yeah, because the episode's not portraying religion as bad. It's just saying we should find our own faith, and if the faith's not for you, so be it. Don't follow it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Homer's doing. As it says, he doesn't want to hear about how he's going to hell, so he feels like he shouldn't have to follow the faith anymore. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything, because by the end of the episode, he reverts back to how he was, which was already a not super religious Christian anyway. But like, you know, he starts attending church again.
I don't think Homer ever is he never has been a hardcore Christian. I think it's hinted at several times that he's just a Christian because Marge is.
Yeah, I mean, his belief on God goes back and forth. Because like, there's one where he's like, yeah, he believes in God and like he'll pray and stuff. But then there's out of desperation, but then there's the one where he's like, he brings up, it's a joke in like season 9 or 10, like, yeah, he's my favourite fictional character. So, you know, it's very inconsistent on like what his stance on that is, but at the end of the day, like, that is the average American, isn't it? So
kind of, yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I'd say the average American is just kind of like Christian by name, but not super like practice. And obviously, we're not talking about like the South and shit like that, because there are a lot of them are more extreme about stuff like that. Yeah, obviously, I haven't ranted about a lot of the humor in this because I was talking more about its story and its message, because I absolutely adore the message of this. And as somebody who follows a faith as well, I've met a lot of people who take it too far, and it's like, yeah, you can't even talk about this, and it's like, okay, all right,
yes,
Mr. No Fun. Look,
you won't even debate with me on this? No, okay.
I'm just gonna say, look, if you're gonna get upset about this, then like, I don't know, like, me, yeah, I'd agree. It probably says a lot more about you. Like, you shouldn't let stuff like this bother you, because it shouldn't affect your faith unless you're weak-minded.
Yeah.
That's always been my stance on that. And that goes for the opposite as well. Like, obviously, if you don't believe in that, you shouldn't be bothered that this is talking about religion and stuff. But like, I don't know. I think it's a good critique of like a lot of those religious organizations and how they handle how people treat religion when people get turned off it and stuff like that. And besides its amazing message, I also just think it's really funny.
Yeah,
you know, Marge in this as well, where she's like, you know, don't make me choose between my man and my God, because you just can't win.
There you go again, always taking someone else's side. Flanders, the water department, God.
This is also the episode where Homer's in the womb, where he's like,
yes,
another
beautiful day in the womb.
There's a lot of good gags in this one. Besides its message, it's really funny. And I think it's not preachy about its message either.
No, it doesn't hit you over the head with it.
A lot of comedies, particularly adult ones, could learn from like the whole like, I want to say a message, and it's like, yeah, you can, just don't be preachy about it. And like Simpsons has a lot of messages in its episodes that we haven't even talked about, but it backed up with really good comedies. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, cool, the message was this, but it was also just a really funny episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's just like, Homer, the Lord only asks for an hour a week. Well, in that case, he should have made the week an hour longer. Good. No, it's a good episode, but we should probably move on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as someone who isn't like religious, but I guess no real great way to say this, doesn't have a problem with people who are religious. It's just I find it like, I just find it interesting to hear people's opinions on this episode specifically, just because it is quite a.
This was another one I was going to make your top 5, right?
Yeah, exactly. I do love this episode too for pretty much the exact same reason. Just because I'm not religious doesn't mean I can't understand the value in this message, because I don't think it stops at religion either. If you're very pushy about anything, it can turn people off.
Yeah, exactly. And you shouldn't be bothered that people are turned off it.
No,
because that's not going to affect your...
It's also just a good lesson to learn as well. Just because you're pushy doesn't mean people are going to like it.
Yeah, I'd say this is my favourite just 22-minute episode about Homer in terms of just his performance. The only other one, performance-wise, I could think coming close to this would be Homer Goes to College.
Oh, yeah, that is a good episode.
They're the two, like, Homer is, like, is the star and, like, steals the entire thing. But Homer Goes to College is for really different reasons, because throughout that entire episode, he's on point and how funny he is in that episode. But that's another one I'm sad actually didn't make either of our top 5s. That one was really close for me, Homer Goes to College.
Yeah, it was close for me as well, but there are just too many other good episodes.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is A Star Is Burns. Now, this previously did used to be my number 1 episode, until actually about a year ago, when I did my last rewatch of The Simpsons. I just love it because it's just a funny episode from start to finish, right? There's no real message. There's a couple of good gags thrown in there about how crossovers are cheap and stuff like that.
Hey man, I really love your show. I think all kids should watch it. I suddenly feel so dirty.
But it is just a really funny episode. Just like the crossover isn't the focus, and I think that's a good way to do crossover episodes too.
Out of curiosity,
I was
going to say out of curiosity, what is the crossover with?
The crossover is with another Gracie Films cartoon called The Critic.
Yeah,
it is. It's true. Which is a show about a critic, which did terribly.
Yeah, it was airing at the time, though, right?
Yeah, it was airing at the time. I think it only got 2 seasons and a web series, and it didn't do very well at all. So what's this episode about then? Well, this episode is about Marge, after seeing, a film thing on TV, decides to host a film competition in Springfield, and she asks the critic to come over and be on the show, and then they just make films.
Okay, well, let's point out that this is another episode where Mr. Burns is a big focus.
Mr. Burns is a huge focus in this one. In fact, he's even in the name as well.
I think this might be Mr. Burns' best episode. It is between this and your number 1 pick in terms of Mr. Burns at his funniest.
I agree, yes.
But I just love like all the the movie he makes, and it's just like a big thing to fuel his ego.
Yes, exactly. I absolutely... It's one that we both still quote to this day, but are they saying boo words? Boo or boo words?
My most quoted Simpsons quote ever is from this episode, and it's the "Don't cry for me, I'm already dead" Barney speech at the end.
Yes.
Don't cry for me, I'm already dead. I love Barney's movie at the end is nothing short of a fucking masterpiece. I love it.
I agree.
I'm Barney, I'm 40-something, and I'm an alcoholic. Mr. Gumbel, this is a Girl Scouts meeting, is it? Or do you ladies just can't admit you have a problem? I absolutely adore this episode. It has to be, like, I'm shocked it didn't make my initial top 5. when you saw my initial
Really? Oh my god.
Looking back on it, I'm shocked I didn't have it on there. That feels like a travesty because it's such a good episode. Because I think originally on my top 5 I had your number 1. Actually then I wouldn't move anything because I probably do prefer everything on my list to it. But still, it's close. You know what? I think A Star Is Burns would be like my number 6 if I could make one. It is such a good episode. I love all the movie stuff in this one. I love Homer that he gets jealous of the critic, doesn't he? And he's like, why don't you just sleep with him? I'll just take a piece of your hair, and he shaves part of Marge's hair off.
He's great, but does he know all the words to the Oscar Mayer Wiener song?
I can't get over how good like A Star Is Burns is. It's like, I don't know, like every joke in this hits. I also love, Krusty. He's like, okay, so like which movie should we vote for? And he's like, I want to vote for Mr. Burns's. And then it's like, why? And then it's like, let's just say it moved me to a bigger house. Uh-oh. I said the loud part quiet, the quiet part loud. That's like every joke in this is good. But I think the Barney bit at the end is probably my favourite. I think that's everyone's favourite, right?
Yeah.
Like that just ending thing. I've heard a lot of people actually say genuinely like they found that Barney thing like quite beautiful.
It is. It's a perfect marriage between humour and like a serious point.
Yeah.
Oh, I also like.
Which is yeah.
Did something cool down your? Oh, sorry, go.
I was gonna say it's weird because it's counteracted by the end joke where he's like, "Hook it to my veins."
I agree. I was gonna say my another joke I really like is, did something crawl down your throat and die? It didn't die.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, it's just the funny episode, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, also, as we speak, your boy. Wait, is this true? Hold on, I'm looking this up.
What?
Interlude. Let's see what fucking happens. President Biden. Trump's raging on Twitter.
Guys, I want everyone to go onto Trump's Twitter and just call him a nerd. Go for it.
I want everyone to go onto Trump's Twitter and link in this episode. Just be like, hey Trump, I know you're upset, but have you seen Dreary Middle's top 10 Simpsons episodes?
To be fair, that is what I tweet.
Anyway,
back to the list. You're next. Oh yeah, sorry. To close out, A Star Is Burns is really good. Watch it.
Okay, well, it's my number 1, and you've known about my number 1 for years because it's the episode I talk about the most. I think when we first met and we first talked about The Simpsons, I talked about this episode.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, so my number 1 is Marge versus the Monorail. Why is Marge versus the Monorail my favourite episode? I mean, have you been listening to my list? By the way my list has been going, they get funnier and funnier. So I think Marge vs. the Monorail is the funniest episode in the series, and I stand by that point.
Okay, big words, but go on.
It is. I know there's a lot of episodes you could classify as the funniest, but Marge vs. the Monorail is literally just non-stop gags. And this is another one of my my favourite ones because, they want to... They have a bunch of money, right? And they have to invest in something. Marge wants to fix their roads because there's a bunch of holes in them. And you see the guy go, there's a hole and there's a guy driving. And he goes, carrying a bunch of popcorn, and he just falls down the hole. He goes, whoa.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, they get a bunch of Mr. Burns' money. And they hold a town hall meeting on how to spend it. She wants to renovate the roads, but then a shady businessman voiced by the Phil Hartman. He comes in and he's like, you know, he suggests they should build a monorail system. And like he wins the crowd over in a catchy song. I still think the Monorail song is the best song Simpsons ever did. Don't at me.
Oh, I'm going to, but I'll let you finish your point.
It's either this or... Ooh, what is my second favourite would probably be the Stonecutters song. Would probably be my second.
Sure,
favourite.
Okay.
But yeah, I still think it's the best song they've done, but that's just because I kind of like that style. But like, besides that, it's just a really funny, consistently just funny episode with non-stop. When I say The Simpsons has non-stop jokes, these literally fire like a mile a minute, and it goes, and it's just like all these funny gags. Leonard Nimoy's in this episode. And he plays the best celebrity ever to be on it. He's so fucking funny because all he's doing is just chatting shit the entire episode, and it ends with a good gag where he's like, "Well, looks like my work here is done," and Barney's like, "What? You didn't do anything?" And he goes, "Didn't I?" And then he just teleports away. And it's just him being like... What I love about these old Simpsons episodes is when they casted celebrities, they made fun of them. They didn't just, like, glorify them like they do now. So, like, everyone's turned off by Leonard Nimoy. Like, they think he's really weird because of the shit he says.
Yeah.
And he's portrayed as, like, a right weirdo in this fucking episode. I don't know why. But yeah, no, he's just, like... It's just a bunch of, like, really funny, just dumb shit. And, yeah, that's all this episode really is. From its intro, the first act is fantastic, perfect. They get what they get what they want to get to the audience across. Fucking Mr. Burns comes and he plays Mr. Snurub. Do you remember him? No,
yes.
Wait. No, yeah, Mr. Snurub. Yeah, Mr. Snurub. Yeah, Mr. Snurub. Yeah, Mr. Snurb.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him. he wears. Sorry, you know what? I mixed up the Mr. Snurb joke and the who's with us? Yeah, who's against me? Who keeps saying that? That's from Last Exit to Springfield.
Yeah. Get him, boys.
It was him. Get him, boys. No, but the Mr. Snurb joke's really good. Because that first act, fantastic. Then the second act, perfect. Homer gets a job driving the monorail, and then you find out that he's actually being really cheap with how he's building it, and it's going to be really shit, and he's going to make away with a lot of the money. Perfect. Good story going on there. She goes to a different city where the monorail was previously built, and she meets a scientist who's like crazy. And then in the end, they could have made it earlier to the climax, but he's like, "Oh, it's already gone. I shouldn't have stopped for that haircut." No, but it's a really fucking good episode. I absolutely love, this episode to death, and I think the climax... Apparently at the time, the monorail climax was considered, the most out there. Because remember, this was season 4. This was considered, the most out there climax they did. But it's so fantastic. I like where Homer throws the M out, the anchor, but then he realizes he hasn't tied it to anything. And he's like, Dad, and he sees the rope going. It's a short gag, but I really like it. And I think just a lot of the jokes in this episode just land for me. I love Leonard Nimoy's stuff. I love the stuff with the scientist. I love Phil Hartman's character in this. He's so fantastic. So yeah, to me, this is the perfect Simpsons episode. I can't think of a single problem wrong with it. So yeah, what do you think of the episode?
Yeah, I like it. I do like it a lot. I don't have the same love for it you do, but I will admit it is a very funny episode. I do like it. Yeah. I do still like it, but it's just
no, of course,
not as much as you do. That's
the problem with The Simpsons, though, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so many good episodes.
Yeah,
I do like that.
Only so many can make you top 5.
I also like the right at the end gag where it's like, and that's the only folly the people of Springfield ever took on, except the popsicle stick skyscraper, the 50-foot magnifying glass, and the escalator to nowhere.
Whoa! I love the escalator to nowhere. Fucking hell, Simpsons was freaking ahead of its time, dude. Its humour, like, stands the test of time. Think about that. That episode's nearly fucking 30 years old.
Yeah, right?
But anyway, like, I mean, I don't really have much more to say in this. I talked more about Homer the Heretic because I had a bad message. This one's just funny. That's all it is. Like, it's just consistently funny. There's a lot of good gags in this episode. Marge is a character who, in the classic series, she actually had a lot of good episodes about her.
Mm.
Like, there's this one, there's her versus Itchy and Scratchy. There's the one where she becomes a policewoman, which is another fantastic episode. There's one where she starts selling the pretzels, which is another fantastic episode. I think Marge is genuinely, like, quite an underrated character when it comes to episodes based on her. A Streetcar Named Marge as well.
I love a Streetcar Named
Marge. She has so many good episodes about her, and I'd never expect my number one choice to actually primarily be about her as well, but there you go. Marge in Chains as well was another one, a real great one about her.
Marge in Chains, yeah.
So, yeah, no, fantastic episode. Watch it. If I told anyone to watch an episode of The Simpsons, I'd probably show them this one and be like, if you want to know, like, this is the epitome of Simpsons' humour around this time and what was going forward, because it's not like the very early episodes where they didn't have the wacky climaxes and stuff and it was just stayed still. This is what Simpsons was mostly known for, and, like, maybe you could argue this is what transitioned Simpsons into that wackier kind of show.
Yeah, sure.
Also, remember, Mr. Burns' voice actor hated season 4 at the time.
Probably because of this episode.
He's gone back and, like, said otherwise, though. He said, nah, season 4 is good now because I hate, like, season, like, 12 or whatever they were on at the time. He is openly critical about that show.
Sure. But they keep paying him money, so he's going to keep voice acting.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, that was my number one. And what's your number one?
Wow. My number one is Homer at the Bat. Which is, again, you know, we both love this episode. And I don't think I realised how much I did like this episode until I resaw it. I'm like, oh, actually, this is really funny. Just, you know, it's such a weird concept for an episode. And just, you know, they just get this whole baseball team just, like, in on it as well. It's just really funny.
I think my favourite Mr. Burns line in any episode ever is "Shave them sideburns."
He comes in bald, shaved. I told you to lose the sideburns.
I think it's my favourite Mr. Burns gag ever. I don't know why. I always lose it when he's just telling him to shave his sideburns. Like, he doesn't have any, and he just keeps shaving more of his head. He's like, I told you to shave them sideburns.
This is also the one where you know, they're having the argument about England's greatest Prime Minister.
Pitt v. Elder.
Lord Palmerston.
It's such like a random, like, nothing joke. Why would Barney care about that?
Pitt the Elder.
Lord Palmerston!
Well, actually, isn't it implied that behind his, like, drunkenness, like, Barney was actually once, like, really intelligent? So
yeah, it was the drink that turned him bad.
Yeah, maybe he has, like, an appreciation for British history. Lord Palmerston. That might be my favourite joke in this episode. But another thing I like about this episode is that not only did it have all these people, but all the baseball players, they played themselves.
Yeah, they did.
And they're all okay with having the proper piss taken out of them.
Yes. Especially the one who just wanted to be a factory worker as well. Just got straight into the job.
Yeah. And then there's like, the Daryl.
Daryl.
Oh, they're used to this kind of thing, and then he just starts crying. I absolutely love this episode to death. This was in my top 5 initially. I couldn't think of a top 10 list without Homer at the bat. Genuinely,
It's also, looking at the ratings and the reviews for it, it's a bit, I guess, underrated considering some of the episodes that come above it. But I still really like it.
I think it's because it's a season 3 episode, and that was when the show was still finding its groove in terms of its humor.
Sure.
But this is one of the funniest episodes in the entire show.
I still think about it like to this day. The bit whenever anyone says they'll give 110%, I still think of that one scene where they're being hypnotized.
That's impossible.
No one can give more than 100%. By definition, that is the most anyone can give.
That is such a good line. No, it really is. No, but like seriously, what a fantastic episode like this is. But yeah, I definitely rate it highly. It's definitely one of my favorites. As I said, we talked about anyone can have a top 10 list, but if this wasn't on the top 10, I'd actually be quite shocked, because Homer at the Bat is such a, dare I say, it's an important episode too. Because like, I feel like, you know what, I'll probably take back what I say about the wackiness thing. In terms of the actual humour, I feel like they found their groove with Homer and the Bat, and that was kind of the humour style they got going forward for the next few seasons. Because you watch, season 3 really is the transitional period, because you watch season 3 and there's a lot of episodes that just aren't that, like, they're funny, but they're not Homer at the Bat hilarious. And then, like, every episode in season 4 is like on Homer at the Bat's like kind of level in terms of humor. So I feel like Homer at the Bat is kind of where they found like what they wanted to do going forward.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love Homer at the Bat. I love, the whole climax is the whole Homer wants to play with his lucky bat or whatever, but they won't let him on the team at the end, like throughout the entire episode, and then like at the end they let him on, and then the ball just hits him in the head.
Yeah.
And aren't they just carrying around like his unconscious body?
Something like that, yeah.
Also, the ending song is amazing.
Yes.
The softball song.
Yes, which is a parody version of the baseball song.
I absolutely love that song. It's fantastic. So yeah, fantastic episode. Is there anything else you want to say about like this episode?
Yeah, I like specifically the scene where the guy's like falling through like that vortex. He's screaming, and then just like something floats up and goes, takes a picture of it.
What, is that not just like an? Is that just like not an out of nowhere like complete tone changer of a joke? Like there's just this vortex that exists.
Yeah. I also like the bit where he's like, if I lose one of my players, sure, 2, that's a coincidence, but all 7, that'll never happen. No, the washer goes next to the dryer.
Oh god. I also just like Daryl Strawberry's freaking character in this. Like he's so funny. Like he's just like a stuck up like kind of character.
Are you better than me? Well, I've never met you, but yes.
Man. I mean, that's all I can really say about like Homer the Bad though. It's weird. I feel like we haven't talked much about our number ones compared to some of our previous ones. I think
the problem with our number ones though is they're just funny episodes. They don't have a message. They're not particularly like great. It's just they're funny,
Yeah, exactly. That's all it has going for it. But like it is like Homer at the Bat, I will defend as like one of the funniest episodes in the show. I don't care how early it came in the show. It's if there's ever a top 10 Simpsons list, I'd be shocked if Homer at the Bat wasn't on it. Just because of how like every joke in this episode like hits.
I agree.
I mean, like, I don't know. It's definitely one of my favourites for sure. And when we both made our lists, it was extremely similar. But Homer and the Bat was both in our top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just good writing. It's a cleverly written episode. It just gets a huge laugh out of everybody.
Yeah, but that was our Simpsons top 5.
Wow.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, definitely.
Yeah, we talked longer than I actually thought we were going to. I didn't know we were going to fill like over an hour and a half. Wow. Something that's about not even 2 hours, that's what we're considering short.
So if you're one of those people out there who disregard The Simpsons because you've only seen some of the newer series, go back and watch some of the old stuff. It's still good. It still holds up.
It's such a shame because I think the newer series is actually just tarnishing the legacy of The Simpsons. I feel like people don't want to watch the older stuff because of the newer stuff.
You have to put it into, and a lot of people don't realise this, but The Simpsons has been considered bad for longer than it has good.
Yeah, 2/3 of its run.
2/3 of its run is considered bad.
And that's generous. That's generous. It's probably more than that.
I think they're on season 32 now.
Yeah, so... Yeah, and it depends when you consider Simpsons got bad. A lot of people think it's after season 8.
Yes.
So, you know, it really depends what you consider bad and, like, when it was going down a hill. But Simpsons was a show that was never meant to last past the millennium, like, in my opinion anyway. Like, it feels like it was so 90s and like it was meant to be a criticism of the shows at the time, that once stuff started changing, Simpsons was going to lose its relevancy.
Well, it kind of, in a way, you could argue it became the thing it swore to destroy. Like, literally, it was, we are the anti-sitcom, and then it just became the de facto sitcom.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually it's really sad that that's the case, but what can you do? At least those old episodes are still there.
True, they haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah, but it's just I wish more people would go out and watch them.
Go and watch them. Everyone has Disney Plus these days anyway. They're all on there. In their original aspect ratios, might I add.
Exactly, so you don't have to watch the stretch stuff.
It's all good.
Oh, anyway, I guess that's it. That's all we have to say on this podcast.
Yeah, I guess thanks for listening, and head over to our website where you can get the list on IMDb to then go through and watch them all yourself. Loser.
Yeah.